The purpose of caging your bust area is to give it the proper support it needs by creating structure on it, just like this one, to be able to stand on its own, and also to replace your ready-made backup or your wording that we use to create support for our regular bustier. Caging can be done on a bustier and it can also be done on a corset cup. In this tutorial, we are going to learn how to properly cage a bustier. Here I have an underbust corset pattern and I already joined the main fabric together. Mind you, a caging is always done on the lining. So I already joined the main fabric together, just like you can see here. I had my interface, I joined and I open press. Then this is what I have. So for the lining as well, you had your interface and you're going to join it together the same way you join your main fabric together. You can add your hairstay, BFF or your wording before you start caging. Then after joining the fabric piece together, I open press. Just like you see, open pressing your seam line will make it relax and it will come out well. So you need to have a proper pattern. Join your fabric piece very well before you start caging. Then you're also going to need a Regiline boning, which is also known as the sewable boning, because that's the appropriate boning to use. Now the next thing you want to do is to draw your lines. On these lines are where you are going to be sewing your boning. This line depends on choice. The more lines you have, the more boning you are going to have. The first thing I'm going to do is to draw out the center line like so. This is just going to be a guide for me on where to put all other markings. Okay, so if you are making an armor princess darts, you are going to draw the lines from the chest line area to exactly the under bust. So from this center line now, I'm going to divide what I have from this center to the bust points, the nipple to nipple area, just like you see me doing. I'm going to find the midpoint. So I'm going to have one boning there, and the other side I'm going to repeat the same process. Okay, so and after this now, I'm going to draw out the half an inch on the upper part and the down part, because I'm still going to be turning this with my lining and the boning. If the boning gets to the upper part, it will disturb me from turning it. And for the side like this, you can just come out by 2 to 2.5 inches. Measure out your seam allowance, and whatever you have left, divide into 2 equal half. Or you just use your discretion to mark out the line. So it's going to be a guide for you on where your boning is going to start or stop. This is just like the way we used to add our wording to our normal bustier. So after this now, we are going to be drawing horizontal line. Then we need to have one on the bust points. We're going to start by drawing out the line on the bust point area. That one is constant. Then after drawing out this line, you will extend the line to the side, because the boning is going to come across the vertical ones. So once you have this middle line like so, you can have another one at the top and below, making 3 lines, and you can have more than that. This totally depends on how much more you need. Okay, so I'm going to draw another one this way, and I already draw out the ½ inch. Then I'm also going to draw another one here. I might not use all this line, and I might decide to use all this line. This totally depends on you. Another thing is to draw a curved line like so, which is going to come to the under bust like so. You draw the curved line by the side towards the under bust, and you're going to do the same thing on the other side. So it's all on this line that I'm going to be sewing my boning on. So guys, even if you have a manual machine, you can still do a caging. All right, so guys, what we are going to do now, we are going to start by sewing our boning on it, and at the same time, you might probably want to watch the direction of your boning. And the way we are going to be sewing this is going to be simultaneously, meaning we are going to start with the vertical line, then the horizontal line. So the first place we are going to sew on is going to be our bust point area. Just like you see me placing the boning, it's going to be after the ½ inch that we are going to need for the turning of the neckline and the hemline. Okay, so this is the ½ inch. I'm going to mark out the ½ inch like so. Then I'm going to start my boning from that point, because I don't want it to tamper with my seam allowance. So guys, this is how you are going to continue till you get to the very end. And when you are sewing on the bust point line, make sure you stretch out the bust point area. You're not going to be sewing on it straight because it's going to come out flat. You need to follow the shape of your bust when you're sewing. This is part of what makes your bust caging look nice, because you want it to look as if there is something inside. So you're using that boning to create a structure or a support for the bust. So this is what it's going to look like after sewing the boning on the bust point line. So now we can place the horizontal line, and this is why we need the measurements we drew earlier. Remember, it's going to be simultaneously, so we do the vertical line first before the horizontal line, and you're going to continue like that. Okay, so when you're doing this one, you make sure that you also watch the direction of the boning. Remember, we draw a line by the side earlier, so the line is there to guide you on where to start, and you make sure you push in the boning that you already have. You push it in like so to maintain the bust, to maintain the bustier shape that we have. In case you don't understand my explanation, just watch carefully the way I'm sewing it. Although there are several ways of creating a boning line or boning techniques on the bust caging, you can just try to explore different ways and see the one that works for you. But this is just like a basic method of caging your bust area. Your target is just mainly around the bust area. You're going to be sewing on both sides of the boning. As you can see, even before we are done, it's giving us the shape already. Now I'm going to be placing another vertical line on both sides of this bust point area. The lines, just following the line that I already draw, although I'm not going to be using all the lines. So depending on how you want yours to be, depending on how many lines, and depending on how big the person's bust area is, will determine how many boning you're also going to be having. So you can have one coming across like this, and you can also place it straight like this one that I'm doing here. Okay, so just watch closely the way I'm doing it, and when you want to do your own, you can simply draw out your lines the way you prefer. So after horizontal line, next is another vertical line. So I'm going to sew the both line like so. So when you're about to get to the hem or the waist area, just stop ½ inch and cut off your boning. Depending on what you're trying to achieve, you can decide to stop like this, or you continue adding to it. So for this one, I'm going to add another one, which is going to come from the side through the curved line that we drew earlier back to the other side. This is just going to be around the under bust area to give it that lift that we needed. Okay, because it is a curved line, so it is a bit technical. Just take your time when you are sewing it. So this is going to be around exactly around the under bust. You're going to start the sewing from where the previous sewing starts or stop, then you continue to the other side just like you see me doing. So this hollow part, this rounded part, you need to take your time around that part. Then you're going to be sewing the boning on both sides as well. Even before we are done, you can see that it's coming out already. So that I'm going to be placing another one exactly at the center vertically, because I don't want the cage to be too much. So after this one I'll be done, then I'm going to finish it up by fleshing it out. If you want to have more than this, you can definitely have. Now that we are done with all that, this is what we have at the end, and this is what the wrong side is going to look like. So the next thing we want to do now is to do the fleshing out, meaning we are going to be covering these bone lines. We don't want to leave it just like this inside our fashion fabric, so we are going to be covering it. It's more or less like we are protecting it. So to do this now, you can use your hairstay, you can use a fiber, you can use your wadding, also known as breast pad, before you place the fashion fabric on it like so. All right, so because if you place this fashion fabric on it, if mere touching it, you are going to feel the bone line. So the reason why we are fleshing out is to give it a flesh feeling, just like the word fleshing, to give it a soft feeling. So to do this, I'm going to be using stay, and I'm going to be having layers of stay. It's going to be like 4 to 5 layers, or even more than that, depending on how you want it. you keep placing it on it, and you are going to use your steam iron to fuse it together until you can't feel the bonings or until you are satisfied. So that is why some people just prefer using fiber or wadding, because it's quite easier and it cover up the boning quickly compared to SD, and at the same time to cut cost. People have different reason for using different material, so you can explore different material, try and see which one works for you better. So I'm going to continue doing this till I'm satisfied with the outcome, then I can now turn with my fashion fabric. And when I'm done with that, I'm just going to trim off the excess stay, just to trim around it to give it a neat finishing around that bust area. The fact that you are going to be covering it does not mean it should not be neat. Okay, so guys, this is what your fleshing should look like by the time you're done. So I'm going to turn this with my fashion fabric now. We are going to see exactly how it's going to look like. Another thing you can do around the neckline area that can help you secure the fabric and the lining is to place the hemming gum on your main fabric or your lining, exactly where you want to have your seam line. You place the hemming gum and sew it together. By the time you want to iron the neckline area, it's just going to help you hold the fabric and the lining together. And as you can see, the fashion fabric is written inside the lining. This is the wrong side, as you can see how neat it is. So please try and make sure that your sewing is neat. So another thing you can do to hold the fabric and the lining together is to place the hemming gum in between the two, that is on the lining, that part that you have your caging. You're just going to be placing a hemming gum in between. After that, you place the fashion fabric on it carefully and make sure that hemming gum does not shift. Arrange your fabric carefully on it and you press it with a steam iron. This is just another trick that I use that works very well. You might want to try that as well. After doing that, this is what I have, and as you can see, the neckline area is sitting flat already. I already ironed the neckline area, and that is why it is flat like this. And as you can see, the Bustier area is standing on its own because of the structure we have in it. So guys, that'll be all for today's tutorial. Thank you very much for joining. Do not forget to like this video and please share so that another person that might need this kind of video will find it. And don't forget to join the family, subscribe to the channel, turn on your notification bell so that whenever we drop a new video, you'll be notified. And please share your thoughts in the comment section. We'd like to hear from you. Till we meet again in my next one. Bye bye and take care of yourself.